And let's just dive in to the Bo Bichette news. So you might be thinking here, where did all this Bo Bichette stuff start? What happened? Like, where did it come from? Well, if we go back to last year, all right, last year, John Morosi, he did say a little something about Bo Bichette, saying, maybe there could be some talks going on. And now they're starting to resurface a little bit. Andrew Lee, how you doing, my friend? Thank you for becoming a member for the 25th straight month. That is 2 years. That's a lot of months, Andrew Lee. You're amazing. Thank you for that. But last year, Morosi, he had said, there maybe were some conversations going on, but nothing really substantial. And yesterday, or 2 days ago, sorry, we had on Twitter the Reverend K. Fids. All right, he is the co-host of the Pinwheels Ivy Pod. And he's talking Cubs, he's talking Bears. Yeah, he's got some followers on there, so there's something going on with him. Maybe he's got a little bit of a scoop going on somewhere. But there was also, is it Matt Cozy? Matt Cozy? I'm not sure which way to pronounce it. I'm going to guess Kazi because there are two Z's. If I botched it, I'm sorry. But he said here yesterday, and I didn't catch this yesterday. I guess it really didn't start circulating until really last night or maybe this morning. I didn't see this until this morning. But he said yesterday, I'm hearing the Cubs have talked to the Blue Jays about Bo Bichette, who would play third base. That's an interesting wrinkle here. So he did mention K. Fids. And then he also mentioned John Morosi, how he talked about Bichette and the Cubs last year. He signed through 2025. We all know what there is here with Bo Bichette. So let's actually just go pull up the numbers really quick. Another very good season for Bo Bichette at the plate. Blue Jays fans are probably thinking, what in the heck are we doing right now? Why would we trade Bo Bichette? I mean, my goodness. I actually fell for, there's a guy out there. I'm going blank on I just discovered this guy today on Twitter. I fell for a troll job, everyone. I fell for a troll, and it wasn't Ben Dover this time. I didn't fall for that, but there was another guy out there. He's got a podcast, and he has he had a picture. It looked like he was on the field somewhere, and I'm thinking, oh man, this guy might have something. He put out there today that they were even he had heard Kevin Gausman was in the rumor mill. I completely fell for it. I'm like, wow, this guy seems a little legit. Nope, I fell for it. There's my potato brain going again. Anyway, I'm thinking, man, are they gonna tear down this whole roster? Kevin Gausman? What are you talking about? Yeah, so I fell for it. I'm going blank on the name. I apologize, but I know he had a funky name, and I guess he has gotten many people before. He has gotten people to fall for his tweets before, and I fell victim today. I took my L like a man. And Kevin Gausman is not in the rumor mill. Anyway, but Bo Bichette is. So taking a look at the numbers, hit 306 last year, 339 on base, 475 slugging, the 125 WRC plus, 20 homers, 73 RBIs as well. The defense was a little better last year. The thing with Bo Bichette and the defense, he's not going to have a lot of range. The arm strength, it's not great compared to the average, but I feel like it would be okay at third. Listen, even if you don't have the arm strength, you can still work on it, right? That's something that you can build up. And if he were to move to third base, I'm sure that's something that he would work on, right? But with Bichette, the one thing at short is the range holds him back a little bit. So I can see where there could be a fit there, where he lacks that range, so shift over to third. But the bat is the big thing with Bo Bichette. So I think it'd be great for a lot of teams out there. So could he actually go to the Chicago Cubs? Now, the one thing with Bo Bichette is he's got a couple of years of control, right? If we're looking here, where are you, Mr. Bo Bichette? So remember, he did sign that extension. It was a 3-year, $33.6 million deal. He is very affordable. So that's the one thing with him. It's I mean, goodness, you're getting a really good player, and he's not going to cost you all that much. $12 million in 2024, 17.5 in 2025 before he becomes a free agent. So that's very affordable. And the Cubs, they're looking to make some moves. Obviously we've seen them connected with Ohtani. Even a guy like Chapman has come up. A lot of even Juan Soto has come up with the Chicago Cubs as well. So they're looking to make some kind of a splash, and that would be an upgrade. And listen, I'm a big Nick Madrigal fan, but he just has not been able to figure it out. He is projected as the third baseman as of right now. Bo Bichette would be a clear upgrade there, because obviously Dansby Swanson's not moving off of short. Absolutely not. So third base would be his home. Now, what could a trade possibly look like? Now, before I actually get to that, I just find it crazy that the Blue Jays would even exercise something, even think about, exercising these thoughts on even trading him. Like, this is a guy where, he's a 25-year-old, shortstop here. I don't know. Like, it just seems a little odd that you would even, is it more the Cubs that are looking to do it, or is it more the Blue Jays that are motivated? I don't know. I would imagine it's probably more the Cubs. But you got to think here with the Blue Jays, they've had a couple of down results at the end of the year. They have just not been able to really just get it going in the postseason. And I wonder if maybe they just have all their ears open right now and they're just listening to everything. Vlad Jr., there hasn't been any talk of any kind of extensions. I see Blue Jays fans all the time like, hey, where's the extension for Vlad Jr.? I'll be honest with you. For me personally, I'm probably going to rile some Blue Jays fans up here. I want to see that slugging percentage come up a little bit with Vlad. I really want to see that bat get a little bit more, 26 home runs. This is a guy to me, go back to that 2021 season he had. That's the kind of Vlad I want to start seeing. Maybe not exactly to that level. Even if you got a little close to that, I think that would be fine. But to me, I don't like these numbers very much for him. But he's still very young. He's 24 years old, going to be 25 next season. So I'm expecting a better season out of Vlad, and I almost wonder if the Blue Jays think that too. Right? They want to see a little bit more out of him before they really start committing. So but Bichette, to me, like, this is a guy. I mean, the fact, maybe he's not the best shortstop out there, but man, like, a guy that can play the infield for you, the left side of the infield, even if he ends up moving to second base, still, that he's a good bat, I don't know. It's kind of weird that if the Blue Jays would be motivated, in my opinion. I don't know. Blue Jays fans, let me know. How would you feel about trading Bo Bichette? Let me know in the comments. But as for the Cubs and the Blue Jays, what could a trade possibly look like? Well, as you can see here with Bo Bichette, there's a high value, $55 million on baseball trade values. That's a very solid value. I mean, like I just mentioned, all of the reasons, right? He's cheap, he's young, good numbers, he plays short. Sure, say what you will, maybe he's not the best shortstop out there. He lacks that range a bit, but it's still shortstop, and he can still play it. And shortstop is a very scarce position, right? That's a very high value position. So that's only going to increase his value more, right? Because there's a lot of demand for good shortstops out there. There's just not really a lot of them, right? And Bo Bichette is definitely up there. So that's why you're getting this surplus here, $55 million. That is a juicy package that the Blue Jays could get back. Right? So if you're looking at some players on the Cubs, I mean, the first guy that comes to mind would be someone like Christopher Morel, right? He's a younger player too. He can play in the outfield and he can play other positions as well. So you're looking at a pretty healthy value of right around $22.5 million for the median value. So I think you could start with him. Who knows what the Blue Jays are thinking here about Alek Manoah, right? Obviously, we all know what happened with Alek Manoah last year. A very down year for him. It seems like the relationship isn't great between Alek Manoah and the Blue Jays. Honestly, it'd be hilarious. Could you do a package? Could you do a package of Bo Bichette and Alek Manoah? The Cubs could use some pitching, right? And they've really turned around their pitching development the last couple of years. I bet they would love to see what they could do with Alek Manoah, right? I mean, this is a guy who just had a good year not too long ago. And I bet you the Cubs would love to have him. Could you maybe package them together? All right. And then maybe the Cubs can include someone like Jordan Wicks, right? I mean, kind of go down here, like a good prospect like Owen Casey. And right there, I mean, these three guys, I mean, you're looking at bam, right? 55.10 million or 55.1 million for Bo Bichette, 55.5 million going back to the Blue Jays. That's a pretty even deal right there. All right. And the Blue Jays are getting a couple of major league ready guys and very young as well. So, it seems like if you're the Blue Jays, you'd probably want more than this, especially considering the fact that it is Bo Bichette, all the reasons I've already explained. So you probably would have to put more onto this, but I could see this maybe being a starting point, right? Or maybe you could work something around this kind of a package. I don't think someone like Peter Curl Armstrong would be involved there. I don't think Cade Horton. I would imagine Cade Horton wouldn't be a guy that would go back. I don't know, maybe Kevin Alcantara. There's definitely some guys in the Cubs. They have really put together some good prospects. I don't know, Ben Brown. There's a few guys that you can work into a trade like this. It could definitely get done. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. I think it would be hilarious if you saw a package of Bichette and Manoah. I mean, that would be juicy. I would love that. What if maybe the Cubs are like, hey, you know what? We'll take Alek Manoah off your hands. Maybe that's something that's, I don't know. Maybe I'm speculating, obviously, but maybe the Blue Jays are like, oh, they said they would take Alek Manoah. Oh, man, I don't know. Got to think about it, right? I don't know. Probably not. But either way, they definitely can work something out. The Cubs have the prospects to get it done, and they have good value prospects to get it done. So keep an eye out for this. I'm very intrigued about this. My guess is he probably stays, I would imagine. But who knows? If the Cubs end up missing out on some of these free agents, I don't know. Could Matt Chapman be a guy they go after? Right? Matt Chapman just slides right into third base. Right. Say what you will about Matt Chapman, right? Say what you will. The bat fell off. Blue Jays fans couldn't stand the guy, it seemed, after the bat cooled off. Got off to a great start last year. But my goodness, that left side of the infield for the Cubs would be nasty. No ground balls would get through that left side of the infield with Dansby Swanson and Matt Chapman. Are you kidding me? What a left side of the infield that would be. That would be crazy. That is juicy to me. I'm just saying. But let's see what happens. If the Cubs maybe can't land some of these guys, maybe they could go in this kind of a direction. Maybe they start thinking outside the box, start looking for some guys that could shift over to third base. So keep your eyes out for this, everyone. Keep your eyes out for this. Moving on here, we actually did have a trade today. I know we love talking the trade rumors. It's always a good old time. But we did actually have a trade that also involved a third baseman. And Eugenio Suarez is on the move yet again. It seemed like yesterday him and Jesse Winker went to the Mariners, and now Eugenio Suarez is heading over to the Diamondbacks. And now I saw a lot of Mariners fans not too happy about this one, right? Eugenio Suarez, that was a guy, fans really did like Eugenio Suarez, and the return that the Mariners got was questionable, right? Now, if we go take a look at the deal, now, when you look at the numbers, I mean, yeah, for the Diamondbacks, absolutely. They needed more production at third base, right? If we actually go take a look at the numbers, last year, overall, the Diamondbacks, they needed some power, right? They were 22nd in home runs last year. And when we look at third base production, they were 27th in WRC+. So they definitely needed an upgrade at third base. So I do like this move for the Diamondbacks. It just gives them a solid bat there. Yeah, I'd like to see that slugging come up a little bit. I think Suarez can definitely do some more. He got the bat going more in the second half. Let me actually pull up the splits here real quick. Let's see here. Pulling up the splits. Actually, while that's loading, let me actually just get back here to the trade itself. I'll go back to Suarez in just a second. Fangraphs never wants to load while I'm live. But this is another thing that made the Mariners upset here, right? The return. However, I can see one little positive here, right? Sebi Zavala, that's going to be a defensive catcher, a backup catcher. He's not going to give you anything with the bat, but he's going to give you some decent defense. So that's a guy that you can count on at least to hold down the fort while Kyle Riley's not playing, right? You know he's going to give you good defense. If he gives you anything with the bat, that's a plus. But I'm very intrigued with Carlos Vargas, right? Carlos Vargas, this is a guy, man, I'm telling you, he could end up being something. I have actually talked about Carlos Vargas on this channel before. I believe a couple of years ago, I did some breakout player predictions, and I think I had him on that list because this dude throws incredibly hard, right? He's got a big fastball. He's got a really big slider. The problem, though, is he walks a ton of guys, but he's got nasty stuff. However, he's going to Seattle, right? Going to Seattle, and they've done great with their pitchers. So I think you got stuff there. He's 24 years old, right? This is a guy that has a lot of upside and could end up being a really nasty piece in this bullpen. So I would keep an eye out for Carlos Vargas. I think it's really an interesting piece to get back. Obviously, looking at the trade itself, Suarez, his value goes as low as 6.5. It could go as high as 9.8. The median is at 8.2. I would say he's probably between that 6.5 and the 8.2. So I understand, right? The Mariners package doesn't look great, but you got to remember with the Mariners too, they were just trying to clear off some payroll, it seemed, as well. So that is one more thing to pay attention to. And if we're actually taking a look at the splits for Suarez, one more thing I wanted to take a look at. All right. I believe he did. And let's see. So if you take a look here, he did get pretty hot in August, right? But then he cooled off again in September, right? But he still had the power going pretty consistently, right? 4 home runs in August, 4 home runs in September. Let me go to the advanced numbers here. In August, actually in July and August, he had a 130 WRC plus. So he did heat up then, but in the last month, he completely cooled off. So, I think there is something there with Suarez, and I think he's going to be a decent bat for them. But obviously, this takes them now out of the Matt Chapman sweepstakes. I personally just never thought they were even in it anyway because the Dbacks just don't spend that money. They never spend that money, right? They did for Zach Greinke a little while back, right? Remember Yasmani Tomas? They've spent some bucks here and there. Obviously, Madison Bumgarner, that didn't work out. It seems like any time they spend the big bucks, it never really works for them, right? So I thought, yeah, there's a fit for Matt Chapman, right? Maybe there was a fit for Jeimer Candelario. So, but now the Diamondbacks, they got their guy. As for the Mariners, could this maybe be suggesting that maybe the Mariners, maybe they're looking to take a different approach at third base, right? As for right now, Ken Rosenthal did say that Luis Urias, former Red Sox legend, will be the guy that could go over to third base, and that is what Fangraphs is projecting as of right now. I would expect that maybe someone like Jeimer Candelario could be in the cards for them. A guy that was a bit more consistent than Suarez last year. So I would not take them out for Candelario. That seems like a contract that they would be okay with doing. He's not going to break the bank, right? Chapman's definitely going to be more expensive. I could maybe see Jeimer Candelario as a fit for the Mariners, right? And he can play some other positions as well. He can move over to first, right? So I won't count out Candelario for the Mariners, right? I know right now their lineup, it looks a little weaker, right, without Suarez there. But I feel like this could be leading to something else. So I would stay tuned. Could maybe the Mariners, could they go get Bichette? I don't think so, but that would be hilarious, right? Anyway, but overall, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's Suarez is a bigger name, right? It's not the biggest trade I've ever seen. I think the lack of news today, in the last week or so, we've had the Aaron Nola news, obviously. We've had some, mumblings about Ohtani, Yamamoto, which we'll get to in a second. So I feel like the lack of moves, people were kind of focusing on this a lot. To me, it's, Suarez, he's an okay guy to have on your team. I don't think he's like a game changer by any means. I think he'll help the Diamondbacks a bit. I like it. It's fine. So, but for the Mariners, honestly, out of all of these guys, I'm interested the most in Carlos Vargas because this guy is nasty stuff, big velocity, right? So, and hey, with the way the Mariners have been able to develop pitching, I think that could be great. So let's see what they can do for him. Let's see what they can do. Moving on here. We got a couple more things to talk about before we start wrapping things up. But one big story today. And there was a lot of people. Oh, man. People were... Ooh. This one kind of was getting a little wackadoodle on Twitter today. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Now, the big report is nearly half the league has reached out. I mean, I'm not surprised about that. I mean, it's a good pitcher. I mean, who wouldn't want Yoshinobu Yamamoto unless you're, one of the small market teams, right? I'm not surprised about that. So his agent, Joel Wolf of Wasserman, who represents Yamamoto, told the Kyoto News last night that he's already heard from 11 to 14 teams. And the negotiation window officially opened yesterday morning. So he has now 44 more days to get signed. The clock is ticking, but I think he's going to get signed way before that. So this was where things were getting a little off the rails here. This is where things were getting a little confusing, right? Now, I'm not going to put everything on Talking Baseball, but... because there were some other outlets, like Bleacher Report was putting this out today. There were a lot of different outlets in the media today that were putting this out, saying Yoshinobu Yamamoto reportedly wants to play on a Major League Baseball team with other Japanese players. Now, I'm not going to get on, to these outlets too much because that is what the article stated, right? If we actually, and Talking Baseball, they did... link the article under this post. And so when you go to that article, it says this. And again, translations can be pretty rough sometimes. But this was what the translation said. This was on Yahoo Sports Japan, right? He has no, and this is what his agent was telling us, right? He has no geographic preferences and wants to play anywhere. He also talked about the benefits of being teammates with other Japanese major leaguers, saying he wants to play with Japanese players. He is different from previous Japanese players, he said, adding that he is okay with all teams. It also goes on to say that he's playing some golf with Newt Bar right now. So could that be something for Cardinals fans? That could get Cardinals fans pretty excited. But the big part of this was the one part where it said he wants to play with Japanese players. All right, so when it comes to Talking Baseball, I'm not going to get on to them for that because that is what the article said. However, they did update the article, right? And Jim of Ballcap Sports, thank you for noticing this. I don't know if you're here or not, but he did notice. It seemed like the article, this was also on Yahoo Sports Japan, so I was getting confused. I'm like, wait a minute. The article that I found, it doesn't even say that. So I'm thinking, and then I clicked on the article that they had posted, and I'm like, wait a minute. Well, it says it right there, but why is the article that I found, why is this one saying something completely different? It says, Yamamoto says he has no geographical preference, just like the other article, such as preferring either the East or the West Coast teams, and he has no problem playing on a team that already has Japanese players. So that's a big difference right there, saying he wants to play on a team with other Japanese players, and he has no problem playing with Japanese players. Those are two completely different statements, right? He saying he wants to play, that means he wants to, go to the Mets, right? Go play with Senga. That means he wants to go to the Red Sox, play with Yoshida, right? He wants to go to the Cubs, play with Suzuki, right? So that's a big difference right there. Now, the only thing I'll say about talking baseball, guys, you're a big outlet, right? I would have appreciated it if, because I put it out there too. I actually put a tweet out saying, hey, this is what the article is actually saying, right? And again, I understand translations can kind of get rough sometimes, but I feel like, if you're such a big outlet, you need to be a bit more on top of, just checking this stuff, right? And just being sure, because translations can always be tricky. Hey, they do great work over there. I'm just saying, because a statement like that, that's pretty strong, right? And so I think, and I get it. Things get lost in translation. Things get mixed up. But I also, I'm going to go back to Yahoo Sports Japan. And I think, they need to, I don't understand, why is his agent only talking to the Japanese media? Why wasn't this available for the media over here in the United States? So to me, I feel like if you just talk to the media over here, right, I think there wouldn't have been any sort of a mix-up with the translation. So that's where I will kind of put most of the blame on that, is that I don't think Yahoo Sports Japan, did their best job, right? I think they got some stuff mixed up. So, because those are two completely different statements. But again, just pointing it out, he is okay with playing with other Japanese players. But you also have to remember too, of course he's going to say that, right? If you're the agent, why would you limit the market, right? Why would you? Because that makes no sense to come out and say he only wants to play with Japanese players. Well, not every team has a player from Japan, right? So that makes his market extremely limited, right? So that just doesn't make any sense, from a negotiation, point of view. So that's why when I read that, I'm like, what? That's just odd. Why would that doesn't make sense that he would only want to play with players that were from Japan. So either way, it has been corrected now. It is now, it's more clear that he is okay with playing with players from Japan, right? You want to keep your market as big as possible, right? You want to keep as much leverage as you can, right? So anyway, that's that. Let's move on here. We got a couple other guys. And speaking of players from Japan, we got a little Shota Imanaga. And it looks like he is going to be posted this coming Monday. Now, all attention is on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and not really too much on Shota Imanaga. So I would expect Yamamoto, once he is off the board, which also this report did say that he is looking to sign probably after the winter meetings. He's not going to be at the winter meetings, so that is also something to keep in mind. But I would imagine when he has signed, that is where Imanaga is going to come into play. And with Imanaga, this is a lefty. The big thing with him, he's got a lot of different pitches, nasty splitter, good slider, more of like a sweeper. Imanaga, I think, is going to be a guy that could be very productive for a lot of teams. People have, speculated about the home runs, right? He gave up about a home run per 9 over in Japan, and there have been some articles. I think there was it one or two? I can't remember. There was one article I remember where it said that the home runs in Japan, they almost double over in the States. And if you gave up a home run per 9 in Japan, well, that's going to turn into 2 home runs per 9 over in the States. And that would be horrendous. That would be Kei Igawa kind of territory right there. Kei Igawa, Yankee fans, I know you love yourselves some Kei Igawa. You missed out on Dice K, and you got Kei Igawa. Kei Igawa, Yankee legend. But, with Imanaga, the difference with him is he has pretty decent velocity, but he's got a big mix of pitches, right? So I could see teams that are very analytically driven. They love working with the shapes of pitches, right? I could see a team like the Cubs or the Yankees, right, where they're very, very heavy on those pitching analytics, right? Even the Red Sox now, right? The Red Sox were connected with Imanaga, right? Look at what they got going on now, right? Breslow running the show, Bailey as the pitching coach. Love me some Andrew Bailey. But, the Giants, right? They love the using the technology, right, to help them, help those pitchers mold, these, getting more movement on these pitches, right? I could see Imanaga with the amount of different pitches he has. I could see teams being very interested in him. The Dodgers too, all right? The Dodgers, who knows? Maybe even the Mariners, right? The Mariners, they're in that territory too. So we'll have to see where he goes, but it looks like he will be posted by this coming Monday. So other bits of news to talk about. We got Seth Lugo in the news. The Tigers, they're kind of in the news here the last couple of days. They've been looking at some guys, right? We saw them connected with Kenta Maeda. It seems like they're going with a cheaper option to replace Eduardo Rodriguez. I think they're really going into the next season banking on the young guys, right, that they have. And if we're actually going to take a look here at the current projections for the Tigers rotation, you got a lot of youth here. You got Skubal, you got Manning, Casey Mize is coming back, Olsen, Gibson Long was pretty decent last year in 4 starts. So I think the Tigers, they're going full youth, right? But they want to get a veteran here that, someone that they can lean on, right? They can give the ball to every 5th day. And Seth Lugo has been pretty solid. 26 starts for the Padres last year, 3.57 ERA, 3.83 FIP. Right around a little under 9 strikeouts per 9, but he keeps the ball in the yard for the most part, keeps the walks down. So the Tigers, sure, yeah, they're interested in Seth Lugo, but what that says to me is that they're casting a pretty wide net on the cheaper options, like the lower tier pitchers. And if we were to actually go take a look here at the free agent tracker, where can I find that free agent tracker? Where is it? Let me find it here. Free agent tracker. There we go. Of course, Fangraphs takes its sweet time. There we go. So taking a look here at some starting pitchers that are on the board. Obviously, below, I guess Ohtani, right? He's not going to pitch next year, so I'm not thinking of him as even a pitcher right now. But below the Sonny Grays, the Montgomerys, the Snells, right? Even obviously the Eduardo Rodriguez. So they're kind of looking a little past those guys, right? Obviously Seth Lugo, I just mentioned. Could Michael Wacha be an option? Maybe Marcus Stroman. Could Mike Clevinger, who was just in that division, be an option for them? Someone like Flaherty. You got Lorenzen. So there are some options here. Or maybe they go take a chance on someone like James Paxton, Lucas Giolito, right? I did mention that Giolito could be a pretty good fit for them, considering it feels like he needs a home where they can try, go somewhere where they're going to get the most out of him. Right? He had a pretty down year last year, especially in the second half. And the Tigers, right? They're also another team that's very big on the pitching analytics. So I wonder if that could be someone that they turn to. We'll have to wait and see, but it looks like they're looking at the lower tier of pitchers here. So look out for the Tigers, but I am excited for the Tigers next year, honestly. I do like this young pitching staff. I hope everyone stays healthy. Excited to see what Casey Mize can do. Remember, Casey Mize, not too long ago, first-round pick, right? I believe he was the number 1 overall pick back in 2018. So, but it's easy to forget that because it feels like you haven't seen Casey Mize in forever, right? If you go back here to 2021, he had 30 starts, ERA at a 3.71, but the FIP was a lot higher, a full run higher at 4.71, 7 strikeouts per 9. That's not a whole lot, but let's see. I'm very excited to see what he can do. So that's all I got for tonight, everyone. That is all I got for tonight. I want to thank you all for stopping by. And but real quick, before I do wrap up shop here tonight, we got a little underdog fantasy to talk about. I know you all love your underdog fantasy, and I know you all love Thanksgiving football. And last time I checked, that's pretty perfect if you ask me, right? You can make maybe a couple of bucks over here on Underdog Fantasy. All you got to do is just plop yourself down on the couch tomorrow, go watch some football, put in a couple of bets, right? We got a lot of games on. We got the Packers, we got the Lions, right? We got the Niners on tomorrow. We got the Cowboys on tomorrow. there's a lot of different guys that you can pick from, and with Underdog Fantasy, taking a look here, I'm trying to get this loaded, and it's just not loading. My goodness, I don't know what it is, but taking a look at some popular picks that maybe you can look at for tomorrow. Of course, you got Jordan Love. Is Jordan Love ever going to get it together with the Packers? I don't know about that. But looking further down, right, if we're looking at maybe, Jared Goff, right? That could be, maybe he has a pretty decent game. The Packers aren't that great this year. But taking a look here, with the Commanders, you got Sam Howell going up against the Cowboys. Doesn't seem like a great matchup for the Commanders, but what can you do? Dak Prescott, obviously. I'm focusing on the quarterbacks because, quarterbacks, those are pretty popular picks sometimes when it comes to fantasy. But there's a whole bunch of different players that you can pick from tomorrow. And then you got basketball, of course. And the one thing with Underdog is you can make in-game picks, right? So right now, for instance, you got the Pacers, you got the Raptors on right now. So, hey, go on there right now. Maybe go make yourself some picks. Go win yourself some cash. But as always, I always say this. Please make sure you play responsibly. That is the most important thing at the end of the day. Everyone, I'm out of here. I'm going to wrap it up here. And everyone, I do want to say thank you for stopping by and always stopping by here. I know it's very cliche to say, but I am very thankful for all of you. I know you're probably rolling your eyes like, oh, cringe. But no, I am very thankful for all of you. We've had a lot of growth this past year, especially lately. A lot of goals being reached on the channel, and I am very thankful that you all stop by anytime I go live and you just see what my potato self has to say. So I do hope you all have a great day tomorrow. Please spend it with family, spend it with friends. Don't, go lock yourself up in your room somewhere and playing video games while you got family over. Go out into the living room, go hang out with them, go eat some food, go eat some turkey. If you're a sides person like me, please dive into the sides. Make sure you have your dessert. Watch some football tomorrow. And please spend it with loved ones. Have good conversation. Get away from the iPads tomorrow. Get away from the iPhones. Really try and have some good quality time with family tomorrow, or friends, however you spend your Thanksgiving. So I'm going to challenge you all to do that. Try and stay away from screens tomorrow if you can. Unless Shohei Ohtani signs. My goodness. Shohei Ohtani, please do not sign tomorrow. Please eat some turkey tomorrow, Shohei. Eat some mashed potatoes. Don't even talk to your agent tomorrow. For the love of me, please do not do it. Anyway, have yourself a great Thanksgiving, everyone. We'll be back here. If tomorrow's Thursday, I usually don't stream on Fridays. Maybe if there is something to talk about, I'll go live on Friday. But I am trying to get a video ready for this weekend, so keep an eye out for that. And everyone, please, again, have yourself a great Thanksgiving. Spend it with all the loved ones. And again, thank you, everyone. I'm very thankful for all of you at home. Have a great night, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you next time.